It is Wednesday, April 15th, and we are going to begin. Welcome to Team Power PD. Today we are going to talk about Intro to Google Sheets. I had some feedback from yesterday. We did some advanced Google Forms /Sheets. There was a lot there. We kind of got in pretty detailed as far as things like, formulas and functions and all that cool stuff. So we're going to back off a little bit and we're going to focus on Google Sheets, but we're going to do very much an introduction to it, like kind of starting from zero. This is one of the tasks that I use with my students. We start these in 5th or 6th grade, and just getting them introduced to Sheets in general. What does it do? What's it for? Usually, students have not used Google Sheets before very much at all, or if at all. And so one of the things that we want to make sure is that we, just so they have an idea, kind of a handle on what to do with them, how they work. And then from there, we can go a little bit more deeper if we want to. And we'll do that. We'll do an introduction one today, and then we'll get into it a little bit deeper going forward. I also was able to flesh out this week. So for the rest of the week today, we're doing Sheets. Tomorrow we're going to do Photopia. We get a little bit more detail now. We'll do a whole topic, a whole episode just on that, as far as like how we can use that in the classroom and things that you can do with that, a little bit more advanced topic. And then Friday we're going to do story time. This will be the last one over break. We have a break coming up next week. I am going to continue to do videos, but I don't think I'm going to do them live calls like this. I think I'll just do short little ones over the April vacation. So we'll see. I'll definitely put information out there going forward. So also looking at some of the questions coming in. So some of these are like if there's like a paragraph of questions, I'll have to go through and look through, and maybe I'll be able to answer them tomorrow if I don't get to them today. One thing that came up, and I did want to address this, and I think this is a good time to put this right up front. Another teacher emailed me about a student having an issue, having a tech problem. This was a high school student, and we kind of went back and forth about the issue, and it turns out that it was the student themselves in effect was using this as an excuse to not join. So the reality is any student right now that doesn't want to join or doesn't want to reach out to you or is having trouble connecting, they have a built-in excuse more than they ever have before. There's a million and one reasons why they may not be able to connect with you. Their internet's down or whatever. It doesn't matter. There's a million different reasons. So it's really a situation where I remember years ago when we started using some of these tools. I remember one specific little story. We're using Google Docs. And a student said, "Oh, Google, ruined my document. I wrote an essay and it's all gone now." And we were able to pull up, mom and dad came in and was questioning whether or not that was the case. Of course, they're not going to question, they're not going to push back on that. We were able to go to the Google Doc history, pull up what was done and see what wasn't done. And that was the end of the discussion. And so right now, basically, students have a built-in excuse better than they ever have before. And that's one of those things that we're not going to be able to question because if they have issues at home, we don't really know if they're having, connection issues or technology problems. But this is really an opportunity for them to show that responsibility. If they can't connect for some reason and it's beyond their power, of course, that's just the nature of the beast. But if they have, looking to try to get help and looking for ways to connect with you, just like in the classroom, we're there to help them, and we've been helping them as much as possible. So just understand that, students that are looking for an excuse, looking for a way to back out, they've never had a better one, right? There's not much we're going to be able to push back on there. But there has been a situation. I've listened to other podcasts at different schools around the country. In one district, they did a survey out there to find how many students had internet access, were online, and they got a really low number, far lower than they know it was accurate. And the reality was a lot of students in this district put in that they didn't have access because they didn't want to get homework. Because one of those stories where if your responsibility is to do the dishes and you break the dishes, guess what? You don't have to do dishes anymore. And so this is a situation where students that want to be responsible and who can connect and want to will. And we're not going to be able to chase down the ones that are looking for a built-in excuse for them not to be able to do some of this stuff. So that's just a factor that we haven't had to deal with before, but it's certainly a reality now. And so what we're going to do today, as I mentioned, we're going to work on Introduction to Google Spreadsheets. So if you are able to go to either in district or outside of district, if you go to rshu19.net and click on the show notes and today's show notes, if you go to 415, you'll scroll down there, you'll see Google Sheets, and then you'll see bit.ly/pixel art sheet. And I'll actually put that in the chat just so you guys can have a link to there. What that is, that will go to a spreadsheet that looks like this. And I'm going to do a screen share here. Okay, so I mentioned yesterday how this is one way to share a document. I don't want to share this one document directly with each of you individually because it would take me all day, but I can just take my, I took this document, made it public, change that last slash from /edit to /copy, and now this link, if I hand this out to people, anyone can click make a copy, and you'll have your own copy in your own drive of this document. I use the bit.ly shortener. And you can use that or not. All bit.ly is bit.ly. There's a number of these out there. But this is just a tool that's handy. So if I want to make a big long link that looks like this, I can make it a nice short one. So if we look at the show notes here, I just have bit.ly/pixel art sheet. It's just a shorter version of that. That's much easier to kind of share and give to people. The only thing to note with this, it is worth mentioning that that is cap sensitive. So if you put capitals in there, that makes a difference. And also, if somebody else is already using that link somewhere in the world, they've already used that shortcut, then you won't have access to it. It's kind of a one-time deal. And so with this, I'll make a copy. I already have one up here. Right here, so it'll look something like this. So say copy of spreadsheet pixel art, and here it is. Now, as I mentioned, I use this with my 6th graders basically just to teach them how to work with Google Sheets, period. Google Sheets is one of those things that's super handy. But the first time you use it, it's not like Docs and it's not like Slides. Just the management of it, just getting around is a little bit unique, is a little bit weird. So I have them play with this. And so we'll go through the process that I use with those kids. Just kind of, you can see how it works. And maybe this is something you could share with your own students, or hopefully this will help you if you're kind of figuring out sheets and how they work and get around them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create pixel art. And it's just a fun way. Kids love it. It's a kind of a fun way to kind of design and draw. But it's also learning about the tool itself as we do it. You notice here on the left side, I've got these different colors, and these are just basically my palette, so I can use them. These are already linked up to specific numbers, and we'll talk about conditional formatting and what that means. But over on the left side here, you'll see in the row, so I'm already beside 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and they correspond to a specific color over here. So the first thing I'll have students do is if they click on a letter up here across the top, and we talk about playing Battleship. If you've ever played Battleship, this is kind of the same idea where I've got my letters here, and I can click on an entire column at once. Or if I go in the numbers on the side, I can click on an entire row at once. And so we talk about if I have this individual piece here, we're going to have them put a number in there. I'm going to give them the coordinates, and they're going to put this in there, and we're going to design an image. Now, before we do that, right at the top here where it says your name here, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to let them type in their name. And when they do that, one thing that is a little bit different is if I'm typing in text in here versus if I've clicked on the entire block at once. So if I start typing in text, and if I highlight text, I can change just some of the text if I want to change the font or the size or that kind of stuff. You'll notice here I will change it just for some of the text inside of a cell. Different than if I click on the entire blocks all at once, and now if I change it, it will change for the entire thing all at once. I can also change the font, and we'll talk about that. We'll go through, go ahead and choose whatever font you want, make it bold. They can change the color if they want to change the color of the letters, or if they want to change the color of the background, whatever they want to do with that. Again, this is just for them to kind of get the hang of some of the terminology. We talk about fonts. We talk about centering. Do you want it centered, left or right? Centered in the top or bottom, same thing. Do you want it to wrap? And we'll talk about that in a little bit, what that means. But these are all tools that we want kids to be very comfortable with. So we have them change their name to their name. And again, you can change all this kind of stuff, basically depending on what you're looking for. So that looks pretty good. I like that. I've got Kern Kelly. I'm going to change the color here. Let's do a dark blue, and we'll make that nice. So nice light blue and black, and perfect. I'm very happy with that. Okay, so I've got my name. Now I'm going to start giving directions. So what I will do is I will give them a column and a row. So we'll start with column L and row 9, and where those meet. Now, if I click on that cell right there, you'll see that the column L, the header up here is a little bit darker. And over on the left side, the row right here, number 9, is a little bit darker as well. Let me make sure. Yep, you got the right one. Okay, so I'm going to put in the number 9 in there and just hit enter. And you see it changed to a color. So one of the reasons why we do that is I'm going to give different colors. We're going to kind of design and make a image in here. And as they do that, these are already corresponded to the colors over here on the left side. And I purposely did that. If you want to follow at home, if you're trying to follow along as we do this together, again, if you click on that bit.ly/pixel art sheet and open it up. Click make a copy. You'll have your own version of this, and you're welcome to follow along with me. What I will do, I kind of want to keep the suspense going with students, especially 6th graders or younger kids. So what I'll do is between each time I give it a letter and a number or coordinates, instead of having them all shout out, which they do, hey, I think it's a this, or I think it's this, or I think it's a Pokemon, or I think it's a picture of a whatever squirrel, whatever they holler out there. I'll say, okay, I'll let one guess between each round. And of course, all the kids will raise their hand. I'll point to somebody, and they get one guess of what they think that is. If you don't do that, you don't have to. But the benefit of that is, otherwise, you get kids constantly yelling out every single time. You have a bunch of a chorus of kids yelling out. So by doing that, so somebody will say, I think it's this. Okay, great, one guess. And then we'll go to the next one. So next one, we're going to go to column I, row 14, right in here, and right in there. And this is going to be the number 3. And then we'll let somebody guess. You don't have to click on the column each time. I'm just showing you right now where we're going to, but I can just go directly to it if I want to. So next one we're going to go is S15. So right here, and again, I can see over on the left side that I've got a little bit darker, and there's a little S, and this is also going to be the number 3. And now we're down to I7, and this is going to be the number 1. One of the teachers said I sound like a bingo caller as we're playing this. So then kids will kind of guess, what do you think this is? And we'll get all kinds of questions and answers. I don't know. It could be anything. And that's fine. We'll keep going forward. Next up is J15. J15, number 3. And then we're going to do R16. That's also the number 3. They start to get a little bit closer to what they think it is. J7, this is going to be the number 2. That usually throws them off a little bit. T14. And this is going to be the number 3. And they start to figure it out. K7, the number 3 here. T14, we already did that one. Q9. This is the number 9. And then K16 is also the number 3. So they usually figure out that starting to look like a face. And again, if they guess that, that's great. So one of the reasons why we do this, if you'll notice too, is if they type in the wrong number, it's not going to give them any colors at all. If they type in a letter, it's not going to give them colors at all. They have to type in a correct number, backspace, for them to get it. So now that we have some data in there to work with, and they see that, oh, it started off a smiley face, we're going to start doing some more kind of techniques that are unique to spreadsheets. For example, if you go into K16, so I'm in this one here, you'll notice if I change my cursor in the lower right-hand corner, it will change to crosshairs. So if I click on it, I'm going to do that. I just moved it. And that little blue box in the corner there, the lower right-hand corner, little blue square, if I change it crosshairs, I can now drag that across. And instead of typing in 3 every time, it will type it in. It will show it here. One thing I'll have them do is, because we're looking at this view, if you go up to View, up in the toolbar, and go to Formula Bar, this will show you what the computer sees. The computer sees here the number 3. We see a red block. And again, we've set it up to be that way. So I can come in here, and by me pulling it across, because it's just one number going across, it has the same number again. So 3, 3, 3, 3, all the way across. Again, not a big deal right now, but that becomes really useful when you use multiple formulas, and you want to pull those formulas so you don't have to retype them every time. Another example of that, again, if I go up to my I7, so my column I, my row 7, so here's 1, 2, 3. These are the numbers that are in here. If I hold the Shift key down and drag across, so now I've selected these 3, I can then drag that across just like that. And you notice how it changed color every time. So it actually matched the numbers over here. So instead of just dragging the 1 across, it added a number 1 to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, 2 things about that. If you have more than one number, and I held the Shift key down like this and dragged it across, that's why it added 1 to it each time. It said, oh, basically Google Sheets was thinking for you, saying, okay, you have 1, 2, and 3. It looks like you want to keep counting there. And so do you want to keep going 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth? And it did. The reason why there's no 12 here right now is because you don't have a number 12. If it says a number 12, it doesn't know what to do, right? So what I have the students do then is we go in the middle here. We're going to go into N11, and we're going to type in the number 12 for these four right in the middle here. We're going to make a nose, but again, right now, again, we don't have any colors there. So we're going to go add a color. So I'm also going to come over here to A12, and we're typing the number 12 right here, and I'm going to show them how to add their own color, whatever color they want. So they're going to pick not just one of the ones we've provided, but any color they would like to have themselves. So to apply a formula to all of this canvas, everything we're looking at right here, I could do it just by one column, or I could do it by one row, but I want to do it by everything. I could theoretically select it here and select like this, but I find just selecting really delicate things like that to make sure you're selecting the right thing, students have trouble with. And the reason why is they might click like this and drag it, so it actually drags it beyond and makes it worse. So what I have them do in the upper left here, way up in the upper left, above the number 1 and to the left of the letter A, okay, so you'll see there that there's a little box that's totally empty. So if I click on that, it will select everything by default. So I've selected everything in this sheet. Cool. Now I want to add it so where that if I add the number 12, I can pick my own unique color. Okay. So I'm going to click up here in this little paint bucket, kind of in the toolbar across the top. It's called Conditional Formatting. Now I already have some conditional formatting. I say if you put the number 1, put this color. Number 2, this color. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All these different colors already match a color based on what I've already told it. We're going to add a new rule down here in the bottom right. And this rule is going to say if the cell is exactly. Now, we're going to say text in this case because it doesn't matter. We could use text, we can use letters or numbers. Or if I want to get more specific, I could say is equal to. So that would be meaning it had to be a number in that case. So I could do that if I wanted to. We're just going to keep it as text just for right now. If the text is exactly 12, okay, what I want to do, I'm going to click on this paint bucket here. I want to choose whatever color I want. Now, the defaults that I gave them these colors across the top, this row right here, across from, you know, the kind of the red berry to the brighter red and so forth. So I gave them this row. So they could choose any of these. If they want to get more tricky and click custom, you can add an own custom number. That could be, again, any color at all. So these get down to like the hash codes and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do a cool, I'll do like a purplish color. Let's do a dark purple. That looks pretty good. Click OK. So now if the text is exactly 12, we're going to have a dark purple just like that. And look, it's working fine. Well, the problem though is if I notice in the middle there, I can still see the letters or the numbers 12 in black. So I also have to change this right here. So the text color right here also needs to match the same color. And that looks perfect, just like that. Click done. Now I have a new rule, just like I did the other ones. And my nose, look at that, it already changed that color, no problem. So if I type something else as 12, it will automatically add in there, just like all the other ones. And I could add another color, 13, 14, 15, 16, and so forth. So this is teaching students kind of that conditional formatting. How I want to show one thing, I'm showing the number 12. I typed in the number 12, but it's showing off to something else. It's a very, very light version of coding. And again, it's not really coding, it's more manipulating, but same idea. Cool. Well, let's say I want to pull this right here. I'm going to go from the number from I7, so this first number, all the way over here to my new color here. And I'm going to give my clown face here an afro. So I'm going to click that bottom right-hand corner. It's going to turn the crosshairs. I'm going to pull it right up just like that. And then I've got a nice little afro wig here, afro circus. Like, there we go. And I've got my clown face. It looks great. So the kids get a kick out of that, and then I'll let them play a little bit. They can add more colors and numbers and do other kinds of things with this. One other thing we teach them, if I wanted to change all the color, one row of colors all at once. So let's say, for example, I want to make this, let's do this, or let's see, let's do this orange here. So I want to make this orange here be a different color. Okay, I don't want it to be the same one right here. So I know that that orange is the number 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Edit. Oops. And find right here. Now, find and replace means I can find a number. So I can find the number 4 here, and it's going to find it. But what do I want to replace it with? I want to replace it with, in this case, I'll do, say, the number 12. So I'm going to replace that orange vertical column here with this purple color that I created. I don't want to do all sheets. I just want to do this one sheet here. I also want to match the entire cell context. Now, this is a weird thing. Like, why would I care about that? Let's say I put in the number 1 here. So I want to place the number 1 with the number 12. And these would be these black ones over on the left side here. I could do that. But if I just said find anywhere the number 1 appeared, then it would also find it in the number 10, the number 11, the number 12. It would find the number 1 within other things. This is saying the entire cell, the entire block has to just be the number 1. That looks pretty good. So if I replace if I find it, it will go find it right here. So it found this first one. If I replace them, you'll see here, it starts replacing those number 1s with the purples over on the side here. Perfect. And this is just kind of a weird way to, explain to kids how does find and replace work. A little bit easier than before. And they can keep going on more and more different ways of doing that. All right. So let's look at other kind of tricks. One other thing we can do with Google Sheets here, I have this grid, and that works well for kids at first to be able to kind of see kind of where they're typing different things here. But let's say I don't want that anymore. I don't want the grid there. I just want it to be a white blank page here. This icon right here, this looks kind of like a window. It's called the borders icon. These have grid lines just like this. So there's the grid lines, but they're the color black. I can make it any color I wanted to. If I wanted the grid lines to be blue, or if I want them to be red, or whatever it is. Or I can get rid of them totally. And so I blank that out. So now I have no grid lines. The grid's still there, but I can make it be a little bit more so I don't have them any grid lines at all. That looks really cool. I like that. A couple of things about this document. Let's say I wanted to share this with other people, with other students or other teachers. I could click share just like always. I could share with an individual address. I'm going to share it with my placeholder account. There's Stuart. I'm going to share it with him. Or now just say just so he can edit it back and forth. Or I could download this. I could download this or as an image or a PDF file. So if I click File, Download, I could download it as a PDF, and that means that somebody can look at it, but they couldn't edit it. They could just see it. Okay. I can also publish to the web. Well, what does that mean? That means I'm going to share this with other people, an entire document or just this one. Is it going to be a web page? Or is it going to be a PDF? If I published it to the web as a PDF, again, that means somebody could look at it, but they couldn't make any changes inside of it. Also, once I click publish, we'll say, okay, this is now technically a web page. Somebody could take that link. If I copied and pasted it, I could email that to somebody and they would see it. I could also publish the content here and automatically republish when changes are made. What that means is that if I publish that, if I make a change, does it automatically update that change? And so I'm going to keep that checked. That means right now, if I go change this, I want this nose in the middle to be berry. So I'm going to change that to 2. Okay, so I changed the color of the nose about 5 minutes. It's not instantaneously, but within about 5 minutes, it will refresh. And once it refreshes, then it will update it on the publish. So within 5 minutes, that should be updated as the new version on here. Make sure everybody's muted here.
Yeah. So
sorry about that. Just make sure you are muted if you're joined. All right. Other couple things. If you do want to see all the changes, everything that's been updated since you started, anytime, if you click this link right here, all changes, it will show you every version of your entries. Like you notice here, we've had this many versions already. This is a really handy tool, one, to see who's done what. And I can jump back to any of them. I can revert to any versions. I can jump back, click on any of them. You'll notice here, okay, this is what it looked like. Let me go ahead a little bit more. At 116, this is what it looked like. And I can see the numbers here, and I can see the colors and so forth. And I can revert to that if I want to. Just this quick little thing we did here, you notice I've got, I don't know, dozens of versions already. This is a really handy tool. If you receive a document from a student that is working on an essay, and they said, oh, I finished it all, and you're worried about it being maybe copied from somewhere else, maybe copied from another student, you can look at the revision history. And if they don't have a lot of changes within their own work, editing, and it just appeared fully formed, all as one click, that's very suspicious. Did they copy it from somewhere else where they find it? So that's one really quick way you as a teacher can look at that, at the change history, and see all the edits that's been made. One final thing. So I also have additional tabs on here. Now, we talked about tabs yesterday when we talked about Google Sheets and connected with Google Forms. But down the lower left, this is our blank canvas. If I click on these 3 lines right here, these are other sheets that are already included with this document that I included for students. So if I click on that, I can go to large canvas. And this is exactly the same thing. And the kids get a big kick out of this. They'll start making all kinds of pictures and they'll start drawing, some really amazing things. And again, it's just basically the same version that we had before, just a bigger version of it. As I said, hold the shift key down. We can make some more rainbows. We can pull those down. Now these numbers don't appear here because I don't have anything for 12 over here on the left side, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so forth. But I certainly could add those. Same process. If I clicked on everything, did conditional formatting, let's make that number 12. Text is exactly the number 12. And I can change that to my custom color there. Click done, and you'll notice it is right. Oops, I got to type in 12. I just typed in 1. There we go. So now notice our 12 is right here. So again, that's just, and the kids, once they've done it once, they get a big kick out of it. They know how to do it. And they just start making all kinds of different fun pictures with it, which kind of leads me to our extra credit today, which I'll talk about in a second, what I decided to do for that. So one final piece in here, kind of an Easter egg in this sheet that you receive. In the lower left, you might have noticed under all sheets, there was the original canvas that we had. There was the large canvas that kids can kind of play in, and a sandbox they can kind of mess around with. There's also this example. Now, this one actually came from another website, but this image right here, if you actually zoom in on it, it is actually a Google Sheet that took a real picture and converted it to images. I can click on this link right here. It's called Pixel Art, and you can do this. It's a little bit more advanced. It might be a fun thing to play with, but that is an actual image in Google Sheets that's created. It was actually an image first and imported, and there's a whole process on how to do that, which is just kind of a fun way for kids to learn about that. I show that to kids, and we talk about pixels. What is a pixel? What does it mean? What does resolution mean? What are these things that we hear about all the time? 1080p and 4K, and what do these things mean? But this is kind of makes it a little bit more real for them because they actually see it in action when they're making their own images, when they zoom out and see it from afar versus zoomed right in. So just kind of a fun way to learn about sheets. I think kids get a real kick out of that as a method for them to be able to learn about Google Sheets the first time. Most students have never touched Google Sheets before. We'll do my next lesson. We probably won't do it this week, but we'll do my next lesson, which we start talking about things like summary and some of the formulas and that kind of stuff too. So if you're using this in the classroom as a teacher, we collect data all the time for all kinds of different purposes. And this is a wonderful tool. It's complex, it's complicated, it can be. It's a really wonderful tool to use for all that data manipulation, and it's really invaluable for that kind of thing. All right. So when I was thinking about pixel art, I was thinking about what are some virtual tours. There's a ton of zoos right now. They're doing virtual tours for kids, being in quarantine, or there's a ton of different virtual tours around the world and museums, that kind of stuff. And those are all great. And if you Google them, you'll find, I don't know, hundreds, but dozens and dozens of museums and zoos and different places that are doing tours. But I thought, what if we want to create our own tour? And you as a teacher want to create your own tour for your kids to kind of follow along. So as extra credit today, there's a tool called Tour Builder, and it's super fun. And so here it is. It's tourbuilder.google.com, or tourbuilder.withgoogle.com. It's still in beta technically, but it's been around for a long time. And so what they do, if I create a new tour, let's create a tour right here, and we'll call this a sample. And I'll say I'm the author. We'll say Mr. K. It uses some of the Google Maps like we've done before. Some of you have followed Google Maps, and they've had video virtual tours, that kind of stuff. You can do a little bit more advanced version of this with Google Earth. Google Earth now can be run on Chromebooks and is purely web-based. We'll do that for a new version later on. I'm not going to do that today. But the thing that's a little bit different about Tour Builder is you can add photos and videos in text right in the tour. So for example, if I want to put a drop on, let's see where we are here. So let's go to Central Maine. We'll go to Newport. We'll go to our school. There we go. Let's find the high school, find the Comus Pond, and there's our new building right there. You notice here, this image here is a little bit old. We're actually in it now. So this image, I'm not sure this was taken. Let's see if it says a date on there. Usually do. But so it's obviously out of date a little bit, probably by a year or so. But I can add a photo here if I wanted to. I can add this as a location. So this location is Nokomis Regional High. Okay, I'm going to add this to my tour right here. I'm going to lock this view. You can change it. So if you do have a street view, for example, if I want to drag my little guy, my little yellow guy here, I can drag it from the street view. You'll notice the street view is even more out of date. If I go to the street view, it's even it's still a field. So Google Street View has not been down this road for quite some time. But regardless, that's still an option. I can add photos right here, up to 25 photos and videos. So if I have my own photos, here's some photos we have of the old school. I could add a picture right here. Here's what it looked like. Click select. So here's that photo. I can put in dates and times if I want to. I can also put text in here. So if I want to say, you know, this is what it looked like at this time and date, you know, 2 years ago or whatever it is. I'm going to show you an example. This is just kind of as we're making a tour right now, but this is one that actually we've done. So a couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to take my family to New Zealand. We did workshops there with my kids and so forth. And one of the things that we did as we were leaving, my mom, their grandmother told one of the boys, I think Kaysen, said, you should really write a journal while you're traveling around and doing all this stuff. And he's like, Grammy, I'm going to make a website. I'm not going to do that. And so this is what he did. He did a virtual tour. I actually came to this one. So basically the same idea where it gave us geographic locations. So here's where we are. This was in Rotorua. So this is one of the places that we stayed. But you notice here on the left side, it will allow us to do kind of a little slideshow with, there's an animated GIF. So there's actually a moving video there with that actual tour. So you can do some information. You can do videos. I don't know if we have any videos in this one. I don't think I do. But you can actually connect that. And then they can click next, and they will jump you to the next spot. So each one of these places, you can have photos, you can have videos. So you could have your students go on a virtual tour of some place. You can have the photos, or if you don't, you can just add them, or you can just search for them. So again, depending on what you're trying to do, if you're doing something, this was a Maori village we visited. We joined a haka. And so if, I think we have a picture of us there somewhere. But you could actually make this for your students to just watch, interact with. Here's Hobbiton. If you're ever a Lord of the Rings fan, you can go to visit basically the set of Lord of the Rings Hobbiton, which is kind of fun as well. So anyway, so those are, let me jump back here. I just thought that'd be a fun way to make your own tours for your students if you're looking to make virtual tours. Certainly, you know, there's tons of ones out there already. You actually can find in the gallery for Tour Builder of different tours that they're already created for you. So you can share with your kids, have them go through that, or go through it together. So I think with that, let me jump on to, I know there was a couple questions, and I want to make sure I make them. They're a little long, so let me see if, one question was, is there a way to make a document read to me? Yes. So two ways. You can kind of go both ways. And what I mean by that is, let me show you. So I'm going to do a screen share here. If I want to read to a document and have it voice to text, I'm just going to create a new Google Doc. So write in any Google Docs, like your students can do this right now. If they go to voice to text, they can click tools and voice typing right here. They click to speak. It's going to ask me to use my microphone, allow. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. Click on it again to stop it. And that's it. And it's ready to go. Again, if you're working with 6th graders on, all of your students have had to experience this. We do this when we introduce Google Docs to our kids. I think actually some 5th graders as well. But they've all done voice to text. Now, the reality is, if I say the word there, the computer won't know which there I'm talking about. So you as a student still have to make sure you're reading the words and going back and editing them and make sure they make sense. So it's not just a case of I can just sit back and ignore what's being typed. You can put in punctuation, or you can put in, you know, periods, that kind of stuff. I'll try it again here. I'm going to click on the icon. What is the weather going to be tomorrow? Question mark. In there. So you can add that kind of stuff, you know, enter and that kind of stuff. And it does a pretty good job. This uses Google Voice Dictation. So the same thing you use on your phone to ask directions or that kind of stuff. So it does a pretty good job connecting it. But again, you have to make sure that the students are still reading that text. So that's going from voice to text. Going the other way, if I read aloud a text-to-speech voice recorder or reader, We'll add that one. So this might be the one, I think this is the one that has the more options as far as voices. Yeah. Okay, so read aloud might be a better choice because I think the other one only had one voice, but this one here, again, yeah, it does. It has a ton of different voices. So do I want, let's see, somewhere in US here, English male, English female, American US versus UK, that kind of stuff. Speed, which is super handy if they want to slow it down. They can slow down the readback or, the recording right there. Pitch, they just have fun with, but just how high or low it is. And their volume, of course. And is it texting the text? Is it highlighting the text as it reads it to you? Let's hear a test here.
Read aloud as a Chrome and Firefox extension.
That's probably too slow.
Read aloud as a Chrome and Firefox extension that uses text to.
Let's try it too fast.
Read aloud as a Chrome and Firefox extension that uses text-to-speech technology to convert web page text to audio.
That's probably about as fast as I talk, but you may not want, students may not want that. So they can play with, the different the speeds there and the different pitches and so forth, and change who they choose. So that's another option. Again, I'll throw that in the it's read aloud text-to-speech voice reader. I'll throw that in the show notes so we have that link directly. Somebody asked, where do you go to see approved extensions? So if you go to your, okay, so I'm not on a Chromebook right now, I'm on a PC, but in your Chromebook, if you go in the lower left-hand corner, there's a little white circle, it's called the launcher. You click on that, and these apps will appear. There's a little arrow that points up, so you can pull up all the different apps. Those are ones that we've either already pushed or allowed extensions. It's called the Play Store, and you can go to that. Now, there are apps, there are extensions, and there are add-ons. I'm not going to do all that right now. We did cover that in one of the shows. I'm not sure which one. I have to go back and look. But we actually covered, differences between those two and which ones we recommend. But we're always looking for more. So if there's one that's added that we don't have, like, oh, we should really add that and push that out, we will do that. We'll push that out to your Chromebooks. Some of them we push out in the sense that you can install them if you want to, but we don't force install them. And the reason why is some are more appropriate for older kids than younger kids. And I don't mean inappropriate. I mean like a younger kid wouldn't use that most likely. Let's say it's like Desmos, for example. Desmos is a mathematical calculator editing tool that you'd use in middle school or high school level, but you certainly wouldn't use it in elementary grade. So something like that. So you might see things listed there that are not pushed. They're just there to be able to install as needed. All right. So I think with that, we're going to call it a day for today. Tomorrow, we are going to do a couple things. One, we're going to talk about Photopea and do selective color image editing. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever seen one of those pictures where you have a black and white photo and like a young, like a little boy is holding an apple and just the apple's red or something like that, that's what we're going to talk about. And the reason, to go through the steps on how to do that. Not so much because we care about doing selective color photos, but we want you to learn about layers. We want you to learn about image editing. As you're doing more work with your students and providing images for them, your ability to manipulate those and edit them and change them and so forth will be really useful for that for the future. So with that, act healthy, stay curious, and take care of each other. We'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye.